Right off the heels of its E3 2016 introduction, Hideo Kojima's brand new PS4 exclusive, Death Stranding, has yet to even pick a game engine? According to an interview Kojima did with Eurogamer, he said, quote, "We're getting to a very good point about how we're feeling about the visuals, so we're very close to making a decision on the game engine, and once that's decided, we will be in full production." Now, the naked Norman Reedus touting E3 teaser trailer that we got was made using one of those engines. Kojima was quoted as saying, "For the new game elements I want to try, you always want to make it and then evaluate and iterate. And that's what we're doing in the other game engine." When discussing his partnership with Sony, he was cited as saying, "With Sony, I have a relationship that goes back over 20 years. There's already this connection. When starting a company and trying to create a product, there are so many problems that come up. And within that, I want to focus as much as possible on my creative labors. I want to keep away the noise as much as possible. In that regard, I think I made the right choice." So this is very interesting because very rarely does a game get announced that has yet to even pick a game engine. I'm sure you could go back and find an example at some point down the line, but this is kind of a very interesting exception to that. This kind of reminds me of Sony's announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PS4 at last year's E3. It was definitely a showstopper, and a lot of people were so glad to have the announcement in of itself. But it didn't necessarily mean that we were going to get any concrete details about the game itself. What this really tells us is that the brand new Hideo Kojima game is probably not going to be seen for quite a while. Considering the game isn't much more than a proof of concept, we really can't expect to hear a whole lot at least for another 3 to 4 years. Which begs the question, why reveal it at all? I think it comes down to pleasing your fan base and catering to exactly what they want to hear. The biggest story in gaming news and possibly the most controversial thing ever to happen in the industry has been Hideo Kojima's firing from Konami. Just to know that there is something brewing and there is something to be excited for in the coming years feels, well, satisfying. Now let me present to you something that you may or may not have considered when thinking about Hideo Kojima's partnership with Sony. Now, to call Hideo Kojima anything less than a legend in the gaming industry is definitely an understatement. But that being said, we don't necessarily know both sides of the story when it comes to Hideo Kojima's entirety at Konami. Now, don't get me wrong, Konami's a real piece of shit company. I mean, the fact that they would take down that PT demo at all is just evidence enough of how much they're willing to burn the art form in of itself. I mean, fine, you're not going to release Silent Hills. That's A-okay. Maybe there was some kind of backdoor dealing, which there was, where it's not going to work out. But to take down the PT demo, that's essentially deleting one of the most impressive horror games we've seen in the past decade. I consider it unforgivable, and honestly, I don't see myself purchasing any more Konami products from here on out. I've said that since it's happened, and it stays true today. But back to Kojima. So it's pretty much known that Hideo Kojima can be quite a resource hog when it comes to developing his new games. And we don't necessarily know how much of a filter Konami had on him before. As anybody knows, sometimes having a filter, having extra people on board to kind of keep you from going overboard, is just enough to make something a masterpiece. We've had tons of examples within the film industry of directors who have done really good work and become absolutely famous for their efforts, only to have follow-up projects in which they have been unfiltered turn out to be kind of hit or miss. This includes directors such as George Lucas or even M. Night Shyamalan. Both of them had a great deal of secondary support kind of lifting their project up from whatever their vision was into something even greater. I mean, shit, they had Hideo Kojima come out on a fucking light bridge during the E3 press conference. I think that means they're giving him complete creative control. The only thing that makes me confident is the fact that Hideo Kojima has brought along his entire development team. I've always said that I've been incredibly impressed by Kojima Productions' work and not necessarily only the vision of Hideo Kojima. Whatever engine they used to produce the Norman Reedus teaser trailer is clearly evidence enough they don't need their proprietary Fox engine to get amazing graphics. I mean, all in all, I'm incredibly excited for Death Stranding, and I think there's very little that's going to get in the way of the game being really, really fucking good. I just don't think we should expect to see very much of the game for at least another few years. Whether it's Sony's money, Hideo Kojima's mind, or Kojima Productions' development, it's pretty much a shoo-in to be a really, really great game. But what do you think about Death Stranding? Let me know down below in the comments. Apologies if you've been following the channel and you noticed that I haven't been posting as often. A lot of the work that I put into the E3 supercuts kind of beat me to the ground, but doing these shorter videos definitely makes getting my opinion and entertaining people, I hope, a much easier and much more relaxed experience. So for now, I will just be doing these occasional updates. Anyway, guys, I will see you the next time we interact.